Today we're going to show you how to prepare your garden bed that has been removed of all of your plants. So a few weeks ago, one of the gardeners had decided it was done and they cleaned it out. It looked great, but we have some weeds that we're going to remove and prep this bed for next year's garden. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go around the edges where you will notice a lot of your perennial weeds have popped up, mostly dandelion. So for anybody who doesn't know, a perennial is a plant that's going to come back year after year, whereas an annual is going to do its thing in 1 year, die, and that usually spreads through with seed. But here we have the perennial dandelion, and what we're going to do is we're going to dig those out. That's the best way to get rid of them. It's not 100% because you have to get all of the root, but we are going to take care of those dandelions now. And you can save them. It's actually really good to save the root. You can use them in like a roasted dandelion tea if you like, but I'm just going to go ahead and fork these out with my trusty fork here. I have to say that this is probably the most laborious part, is cleaning out the perennial weeds. Just because they're really in the ground. Now, you can by all means keep these in there, but these will just go to seed next year and you'll have 10 times more. But this was a very new plot this year. The town and some people helped sod all of these. So what you're seeing is the lawn actually growing back in from the edges. So we're just going to take care of those edges and hope that next year the lawn does not continue to creep into the garden bed. And as the years progress, if you keep doing this kind of stuff, you know, you're going to pretty much eradicate all your perennials. So don't think that this is like an every year thing, unless you let them get out of hand. And of course, you can do this all throughout the year. You don't have to do it all at once, but some of these gardeners were new. And I wasn't about to say, hey, you need to get every single weed. That's how you learn. And the person that did this did actually a really good job of taking care of the weeds. No one this year did a bad job. I just want to set the scene for next year. Ooh, that one's gonna come back. Let's see if I can't get that. Now, most of you are probably like, well, why don't you just get a tiller? Well, I'll tell you what. So on our farm, I think it's been about 7 years ago now, 6, 7 years ago, we started a practice called a no-till farm, where it means you don't disturb really anything maybe a couple inches below the soil. because that soil is a living organism. So, I'm getting a little deeper here, but for the most part, I'm peeling up and then putting back. And the reason we did this is because we were noticing that when we tilled, we would always be digging up the weed seeds that were down underneath, because there are weed seeds that live for decades, hundreds of years, underneath the soil that have been covered up. So you may take care of your top weeds, you go and till, bringing up all of those new weed seeds, and you got to start all over again the next year. That's why we started doing it. Now the benefits have far outweighed just weeds. You're never going to not have weeds. There's no such thing as a weed-free garden. If you do, you're doing something wrong. You probably don't even have anything growing in your garden. But anyway, the benefit we found was that you keep that soil intact, and then you keep adding soil to it, and you keep that microbiome of the soil intact, and it allows for, the magic of earth to do what it's supposed to do. That's the simplest way I can put it. So really, the only job you have then is just to plant into it and grow your food. Don't overcomplicate things, just don't. So we implemented that, and that's kind of how I intend to keep doing this community garden. It makes for really good soil. If you got good life in your soil, you're going to have good nutrients. Good nutrients means really good flavor food, means healthy food for you. You kill the soil, well, it's almost like killing yourself. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't think so. We won't go into that. But this is kind of the beginnings of a no-prep garden bed. I'm sorry, not no-prep, a no-till garden bed. So now, I think there's a few dandies in the middle here. I think as you go on your gardening journey, you're going to find out that you learn just as much about the weeds that are growing in your garden as much as the plants that you grow. A lot of these that we're digging out, like dandelion, is really good at detoxing your body, especially your liver. At least that's what they say. I'm not a doctor, but herbs, not new to the herb realm. But there's another one in here. Where did I see it? It's right here. It's called mallow. Mallow. I can't recall what the properties of mallow are, but it's what they used to make marshmallow out of. Real marshmallows. I'll bring this in here. This is what mallow looks like. It's a really beautiful plant once it gets up and going. All right, so now that we got the dandelions out, we're gonna get most of these annuals. So this is what I call the scuffle hoe. It has many names: the stirrup hoe, linear hoe, many names. We picked this up at Lowe's. I think it was like $30. So what we're gonna do, has a blade here and it has a blade here. So you literally are just taking it back and forth across your dirt. We're gonna call it soil because it's soil now, okay? So this can seem overwhelming, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're gonna do this in one layer across at a time. So pick a corner, and start. And what it's doing is it's cutting all of those weeds off at the surface, which is really good for annuals because it'll kill your annual and it won't go to seed. That's why it's not so great to just do this with perennials, because with the perennials you need to get that root or it's going to grow back. See, and that's already, what, a quarter of it done. So now we're going to start down here. Try not to go like this and like curve your back. I always try to practice good posture. So if you hold your back up and kind of bend with your legs, like if you're going to do this a lot, it'll help your back in the future. But it's really good exercise, definitely for your upper body. And if you do this periodically, you're not going to have a weed problem. So now we're just going to the next quarter of this bed. Kicked up a root. It must be the sunflower that they planted there. So for this, I'm gonna just kind of turn it around here. You know, and the drier the soil is, the better that this works. There's a point where it gets too muddy. Don't try to scuffle mud hole. You'll just get frustrated. Trust me. Don't ask me how I know. All right, so I just realized I forgot my rake. So give me just 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, so we have the adjustable rake here. I picked this up at a Do It Best hardware store. You can find these everywhere. Don't go on Amazon. The one I ordered from Amazon was no good. So now we're just gonna go, we're gonna rake up all that debris, which technically you don't have to, but I'm going to. Gotta get a lot of clumps of dirt. You can leave those in there. So we are going to put this down and we're going to talk about composting. Definitely in the first year of no-till, you really do. You want to put a compost or a manure on, definitely in the fall. So if you were to put a compost on in the spring, that would be great, but do not put manure on your bed in the spring. Reason being is manure, well, is poop, fresh poop. So you want to allow 120 days for that manure to lay on your garden bed. The reason for that is it's fresh poop, disease, bacteria, you know, all that good stuff that comes with poop. You want to give it 120 days to lay. That way when you go and plant your vegetables, you're good to go. Now, if you have compost, you can put that on at any time, fall, spring. So the rule is 90-20. I'm sorry, 90 and 120. So 90 days with the manure. If you are going to put in plants like tomatoes that are going to be up off the ground and the food is not touching the ground. 120 days if you are going to be putting in a vegetable or a fruit that is going to be touching the ground. So I have no idea what's going to be planted in this bed next year. So we are going to put on some of my chicken. We call it chicken compost. It's not quite composted because my chickens have been digging through it and still pooping on it. So this is what I had readily available, and this is going to be amazing for this garden bed. So I'm going to apply that on now. It's going to have all winter to set. There's going to be no problems come spring. So now I am going to put this on the bed. That was a heavy one. Chicken's been busy. We have so much of this. We're getting ready to put this all over our little garden farm area. There, you know, that's the best. Obviously they lay eggs, but that's not where the money's at in chickens. They make garden gold. Garden gold. Of course the eggs are delicious too, but compost is where it's at. So I'm gonna take some of this, clean it out, get it out so I can spread out this chicken manure. Like I said, even if it's not perfectly cleaned out, we're gonna be just fine. But there's just something in my brain that makes it look pretty. I'm actually gonna call that pretty good. I'll go and collect those dandelion piles here shortly. All right, so now what we're gonna take is we're gonna take a garden rake and we're gonna spread this out. Try to get it as evenly as possible. Like I said, it's not perfection. And whoever does this, they can add more to it if they want. And this is just adding nitrogen, really good for greens. Adding so much to the soil. People do, they like to complicate it. Good soil takes poop and carbon. What do I mean by carbon? Dead and dying plants, wood chips. Although it does take a while for wood chips to break down. And as they're breaking down, they will seal your nitrogen. So, but once they break down, man, they make some really good soil. But I don't suggest putting a bunch of wood chips all over your new garden bed. Definitely fresh wood chips. You'll steal that nitrogen right out of the soil. And then you're gonna struggle with some things. Ooh, that's some good stuff there. As you go, just kind of break it up. Good old Indiana clay. Being the pottery pieces all in your dirt here. But it's still full of nutrients. So if you work with it year after year after year, man, you got some good soil. Da, 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 da. Usually I'm listening to some tunes, but since I'm recording this, can't listen to some tunes. Always got my Spotify mix going or an audiobook. Good for your soul. Get out, get your hands in the dirt. Sometimes I'll even take off my shoes and do a little grounding. Becoming more of a hippie every single day I do this. The way I said that, it made me feel like I was the Bob Ross of gardening. Oh. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So that's looking really good. Let's break that up. Bring some more of that over here. Like I said, as this sits, you can work it a little more, pull out a few of those dead weeds. But like I said, they're gonna die. And they're just gonna add to your soil. But for purposes of this video, gotta make it look pretty. But the more clumps you can get out of it, the easier it's just gonna be to sow your seeds next spring. And the more you do this, you're just not gonna be dealing with those clumps. The worms and all that fungi and everything living in the soil, I'm gonna do that for you. So in the spring, if there happens to be any weeds in this, just come out with your scuffle hoe. You're gonna scuffle them, you're gonna hand pull them, you're gonna use your digging fork. The goal is to not get a rototiller and till this. Don't do it. Trust me, just don't do it. Thinking that looks pretty good. All right, So I'm going to go around and collect these dandelions. And then I'm actually going to go home, feed them to my chickies so they can make more beautiful dirt. And then the whole cycle can start all over again. They'll break it down for me. And my husband go dig this out of our, what we call the West Pen, where we dump all of our scraps, and they break it down and they poop all over it. He's so nice. All right. Well, that's it. You know, it seems like a lot of work, but it's really not. You know, you can always do this in stages. You don't have to do it all at once. I'm used to it. It's good exercise, and I enjoy it. So until next time, I hope you go out into your garden and, you know, add a little nutrition to it. And hopefully next year your garden will grow big and tall. All right. Peace.